So Eric, good to talk with you. I think to start, maybe just introduce yourself, a little bit about your tennis background, your tennis journey, and kind of how you ended up getting involved in Atlas.
I think, my tennis journey started in Minnesota, playing 99.9% of my tennis on blue hard courts with Wilson tennis balls. I think my tennis journey changed a ton when I made a big decision at age 22 to move to France with a couple friends and travel the country playing money tournaments, and really exposed me to not only tennis at a higher level than I was playing in college, but also how tennis is played all around the globe, and how the surfaces are different, the balls are different, the people are different, customs are different, and obviously led me into the world of professional tennis for another 13 years. But more importantly, I think just opened my eyes to the world of travel and meeting people and just all the fascinating aspects that came with that. As far as why did I join Tennis Atlas, it was to take the experience that I had and hopefully recreate that for other kids who are playing tennis and want to see the world. And I think those two pair so well, and I look forward to sharing it with more kids on this journey.
And why particularly, kids, teenagers? That's where we're focused, as we get started. What about that age group really appeals to you?
Yeah, I think it appeals most to teenagers because that's just really a developmental phase in every kid's life. It's a challenging time as you go from middle school to high school, and you're starting to make real decisions for yourself. I think I benefited so much from seeing the world at 22, but I could have expedited that whole process by doing or having some of those learnings at 14, 15, or 16. So I think the earlier we can give those memories and those experiences to kids, the better their kind of long-term growth is going to be.
Yeah, and I think we talk a lot about the personal growth and development, which is kind of central to what we want Atlas to be. But there's also a huge emphasis and a ton of room for improvement as a tennis player, which is something I know you can speak to from your own experience. What about traveling overseas, playing in different countries? The experience that we're trying to create, do you think is so conducive to improvement as a tennis player?
Yeah, I think the sport of tennis and being successful at it is so much about dealing with adversity. Obviously, it's an individual sport, so you're out there all by yourself. You need to problem solve. I think, unfortunately, in this country, we do a lot of things to take away that adversity. We try to make things easier for our kids rather than harder. Tennis is a wonderful sport that is played on, grass or clay, hard courts. It can be played indoors or outdoors. And I think showing those different surfaces to people, understanding how the sport changes as you go from one surface to the other. Some shots work better than others. The types of player that you're playing against, the tactics that you need to use will change. So there's a whole on-court experience as you start to change up surfaces that is really important for developmental side of things. But also there is the finding the right food that's going to fit your diet in whatever country you're in, or the types of the people that you're dealing with, or the types of accommodations that you're in. All of those are different hurdles, and the faster you learn to overcome those hurdles and deal with those challenges, it's going to make you an even stronger tennis player.
Are there any specific, skills or things as it relates to a player's actual tennis development that you think going overseas, playing on these different surfaces in different environments is going to particularly help when they come back home and they're back in their kind of normal environment?
Yeah, I think specifically on court, the more time you can spend playing on clay, and even red clay specifically, it really develops your baseline kind of shot tolerance or consistency. It's one thing to play a little bit of green clay in America, and kind of that does help, but the European red clay, just understanding how that affects ball bounce and how that affects your movement, how that affects your fitness over time. It's a really great way to build a foundation for being a strong baseline tennis player. I think kids that get exposed to, not only training on clay, but playing tournaments on clay against players that are experienced on the surface will provide tremendous value and benefit to their game.
zooming out for a second, let's go back to just talking big picture, not so much about tennis specific. I mean, throw it in if you want, but broadly speaking, in your eyes, what does success look like for Atlas Tennis?
I think success for Atlas Tennis is bringing a lot of American juniors every single year over to Europe to experience what tennis is like around the globe. That really enhances their tennis level, helps them see the world, but most importantly, comes back and wants them to play, leaves them wanting to play more tennis. I know for me, playing in France and all around Europe just make me love the game even more. I have so many friends who play other sports professionally, and ice hockey is played on a very similar rink anywhere you go. Basketball is always indoors on the same type of court everywhere you go. Tennis, the surface changes. You can play it indoors or outdoors. It's such a wonderful game that you can play the rest of your life. And I think that when kids will see kind of the opportunities that tennis presents at this young age, hopefully it makes them come back and want to play even more tennis.
It's true, and even if you're playing, when we're traveling, we'll be on red clay most of the time. Probably no two courts are going to be the same, which is, you can view that two different ways. You can view it as I'm never going to feel comfortable. I'm always going to be unprepared, or you can view it as like, this is so cool. Every time I'm going out there, it's a different experience. It's a new challenge, and it's kind of a cliche, but your opponent is on the same court as you, dealing with the same challenges. Kind of going back to your own experience, your own story, are there any, particular memories you have of, travel through tennis, whatever that may look like, whether it was a specific place or a specific memory with, certain people that really stand out in your mind that kind of make you smile and kind of, excite you about what Atlas can be?
Yeah, I have a specific memory. It was in my first maybe week or 10 days over in France. I played my first tournament on red clay. I won one match. I lost the second round, but was struggling and really embracing the challenge of playing on red clay. It was the second tournament where I lost first round and was playing against a friend that evening who was drop shotting me repeatedly. I was feeling like a road runner where I couldn't get my footing right, and really broke down in tears and had a moment where I said, I can't do this. I need to give up. I need to go back home. And it was through some good friends who talked me out of that hold and said, no, you're not going home. You're going to stick with this. But experience that sort of, I reached my breaking point and then realized I had more in me. That's something that I hope kids get to experience. I think they will feel this will be a real challenge for them. But when you realize that you are able to meet that end point and then still push on, that's really where the greatest success lies. And I hope kids get to experience that, a little bit of that feeling. Maybe mine was a bit extreme on these trips.
Yeah, I think that's one of those skills that you'll find forever. You're always going to be kind of faced with those types of challenges, whether it's playing tennis or any other thing in life. And the sooner you can kind of recognize like you've got more in you, you can keep going, the better off it's going to be. All right, a couple more questions. So how many countries have you been to? Do you know?
I think I've been to approximately 40 countries.
Okay, so that's a good number. You have a good kind of basis for answering this question. Of the destinations that we have on the itineraries for this summer, which one, if you had to pick, is the most exciting to you? Would you want to go on the trip with if you could? What stands out to you?
Gosh, I think having traveled so much, all these countries are special. They all have rich tennis tradition, and there's things that you can learn from being in each of them. I think Spain is most prominent right now because we've seen the rise of Rafael Nadal and Carlos Alcaraz and understanding the sort of Spanish battler clay court mentality. So that would be probably pretty close to the top of the list. But France is also really special. The culture in France that they have around tennis, the club atmosphere there is really special. We have a little bit of it in America, but in America, we're more of a turnkey. People come, they book their tennis court, they show up for their lesson, and they leave. I want kids to be able to experience the life at a French club where you play your match, There's sort of an unwritten rule where the winner of the match buys the loser a drink, and they sit down afterwards and have a conversation. You'll often have a barbecue at the club, and get to know lots of different people. It's a different environment than we see here in America typically, and one that's really, really special, and I hope some kids get to experience.
Yeah. So far I've asked you, Megan, and Andrew which country you're most looking forward to, and Spain and France. Those are the common answers. For me, it's Holland actually, but for the same reasons. It's that those barbecues, that the social aspect of tournaments is just something that you don't see the same way in the U.S. and it's a great kind of way to show kids that like there's a lot more out there. There's like a tournament can be a lot of different things. All right, last question. Simple one. Why should someone go on an Atlas tennis trip?
I think of all the things you can do with your summertime, and if you are at all interested in the sport of tennis, this is the best opportunity for you. You're going to improve your tennis game. You're going to get to experience the world, multiple countries. And if all is a success, which we truly believe it will be, you'll come back wanting to play more tennis than you've ever played before.
Good answer.